I've had a lifelong fascination with every aspect of the unknown. I was born into a haunted duplex in 1975, and I continue to see ghosts until this day. I saw my first UFO in 1992, and I've seen dozens more since then. I've witnessed what I now believe to be sasquatch activity, and I've even had a couple run-ins with some demons along the way.
I remember, I don't know, I was young. I don't know how young I was. I probably was 7 or 8 years old. And I remember a report coming across our news that somebody had found tracks close to our house, probably within, I don't know, a mile or two of the house. Come to find out it was fake. But from that day on, I was kind of hooked on the Bigfoot thing. All through, junior high and stuff, I always tried to read up as much as I could on sightings of Bigfoot and this and that. And that just kind of escalated.
Hey guys, this is Tracy Rousey.
And I'm Junebug Fugit. Welcome to our very first episode of In Dark Places.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. We'll be able to get us some guests on here that pretty informative, very good at what they do, know about what they talk about. Be pretty informative and have a little fun and laugh a lot.
Yeah, we're going to try to get some of the big name para-celebrity type folks, but we more geared toward hearing the true stories from people. So if anybody out there has got any stories they'd like to share, we'd sure appreciate you hitting us up.
Oh, absolutely.
I discovered Art Bell around 97, I guess it was, 95, 97, somewhere in that neighborhood, and started getting heavy into this stuff. And once I heard him, I was hooked.
Well, I drove truck for many, many years, and Art had kept me up many, many nights when it was going to be a long night. I actually looked forward to, midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, because I knew always somewhere, no matter where I was at in the country, I could pick him up. And I'm the same way. I always looked up to his style and the way he did that show. And he always had great guests on, and he would just basically let them talk. I mean, he would ask a question and let them go. He didn't contradict them. He didn't try to prove them wrong. He didn't try to, smear them. He come at it with an open mind. And it was with everything, whether it was Bigfoot, whether it was Loch Ness, whether it was ghosts or demons, or if it was, with anything, with the government, conspiracy type stuff. It was a great show, and it's just there'll never be another show like it.
I would listen to him every night and end up falling asleep. I wanted to listen so bad, and I'd end up falling asleep. I finally got to where I would set my tape recorder. I would record 45 minutes. I would hit record right before I was falling asleep very good. And I would hit record. I was going to get the next 45 minutes of it anyway while I was asleep. And I'd play it back and listen to it first thing in the morning.
I think everybody, I know I did the same thing. And then I would listen to it the next day. There's many, many nights that he kept me up awake when I knew if it wasn't for that show, I'd be probably dead over a mountain from falling asleep driving. But he always kept it interesting.
Well, thanks for joining us here today. We got a good show planned for you. We're going to be talking about some classic Appalachian Bigfoot tales. I think I might have even seen a Bigfoot one time. When I was little, my dad used to always take us to this state park that's nearby here called Cowboy Lingo, kind of in between on the borders of 3 different counties, Mingo County, Cabell County, and Wayne County. So they kind of combined it to call it Cowboy Lingo. They've got cabins and people go fishing there, and hiking trails and stuff. It's a cool little place. My dad would take us there every year before my sister was born. I'm 5 years older than my sister. He would always take his brother with us. I guess he kind of felt bad for him. He didn't work or anything, and I guess he brought him along to keep me busy. So my dad would always take me and my mom and my Uncle Russell to Cowboy Lingo every time he would have a long weekend, like on Labor Day or whatever. We would go there every year. And we only went there a couple years with my sister. I don't know why he stopped taking us there. But we were there one year. I had to have been 3 or 4. I don't remember exactly. But I was out walking around with my uncle. I had this little red wagon I would pull with me everywhere when I was little. And I probably had that wagon with us. We went out on this hiking trail, me and my uncle, this behind the cabin where we were staying. And we came upon this thing laying in the trail. It was black. I could see its face, and it had like mud on its face. I don't remember a whole lot of the details about what it looked like. I just remember seeing that mud on its face. And we must have startled it during its nap, because I remember it made the loudest noise I've ever heard in my life, like, and it took off up the mountain to get away from us. And when it was screaming, I kind of put my hands on my ears and closed my eyes. I don't remember if it ran up the mountain on all fours or if it got up right and ran. But it was, I remember it was not much bigger than me. And my uncle scooped me up and was carrying me out of there. We were scared to death. I was asking a million questions like kids do at that age. But what was that? Who was that thing? What was that boy doing? And my uncle said, I don't believe that was a boy. I think that was a buzzsaw. I don't know why he said that. It was clearly alive. So we went back to the cabin, and I don't remember if my uncle told my dad about it or if he just kind of kept it to himself. He died back in 2000, and I just recently remembered this like a year ago. I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about Bigfoot. I was thinking, with all the things I've seen in my life, how could I have never seen a Bigfoot? And then it just like triggered something in me. I started thinking back, and I remember that day at Cowboy Lingo, with all the years of research I've done and everything, I believe that to be a juvenile Bigfoot now. And I don't know, there was probably parents nearby somewhere hiding behind the trees or something, but I don't even know because I had my eyes closed. I took my son there about a year ago, around this time last year. When these memories first started coming back to me, I wanted to go back to Cowboy Lingo and take my son, Brandon. And I hadn't been there in years. Probably the last time I was there was like I was 8 years old or something. I drove around all the cabins there, just trying to trigger something in my mind. And I found the cabin that we were staying at that year. And this Sasquatch was really close to the cabin, probably like a quarter of a mile, if that. Just kind of like on the tree line from the cabin.
I got mixed feelings about that. I don't know if I want to see one or not, be honest with you. I guess I would almost have to see it to 100% believe it. But I don't have to see it to believe it, I guess. I mean, it's just like anything else. It leaves its mark. And if you think about, okay, all these Bigfoot reports that people give, it seems like, especially the mainstream media, they always have an excuse for it. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of it's made up. I'm sure some of it's misidentified creatures. I mean, you know, a lot of people say, well, it's a bear. It's a bear. You know, most people know what bears look like. Even if they're walking on their hind legs, they know what a bear looks like.
Yeah, they're clumsy. They're not going to just
Right,
take off walking.
Exactly. So to me, do I believe in a Bigfoot? I believe that people are seeing something. Now, is it, you know, the missing link, or is it an unidentified creature or an animal or whatever? I don't know. But I don't think they're all made up. I don't think they're all lies, and I don't think they're all misidentified. There's too many
Yeah.
for some of them not to have some legitimacy to it. There's just no way. That goes for, I mean, you think about UFOs. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure some people make up stuff. I'm sure some people, to me, it would be a little easier to misidentify something in the sky than it would be a bear. But I have a hard time believing that they're all made up or they're all wrong.
Yeah, ain't no way.
No, people are seeing something. Now, is it, you know, aircraft from another dimension or, you know, another galaxy or universe? I don't know, but I do know people are seeing something. They're not all making it up. Is the reason that they're not seen more? Can they travel through dimensions, or can they, I mean, do they have some kind of mystical magic power that, you know, can make them disappear just at the blink of an eye? I mean, the only way that I see this actually being answered, and I don't condone it, I don't know that it would be the right thing to do, but one's going to have to be killed. And that way, one, that's going to give the proof. Two, I mean, that gives you the opportunity to actually study, you know, the DNA, the whatever, you know, to do all these tests on. But I think that's the only way it's going to, that the scientific community is going to say, hey, this is real. Here it is. Now, like I said, I don't condone it. I don't know that I feel that's the right way, but I think that's the way that it's actually going to have to happen for everybody to take it serious.
Want to take a ride? You can find us on Skype or email us indarkplacespod@hotmail.com.
Let's read some old newspaper articles about Appalachian Bigfoot tales.
I'll try to find it amongst everything here. It's where I think it was back in the 1800s, a Bigfoot attacked some folks in Gallipolis, Ohio, which is 20 minutes from me.
I've not heard of that one.
So I'm going to see if I can look up the story here. 1869, January 1869. This was picked up by the Minnesota Weekly, January 23, 1869. It says, "A gorilla in Ohio" is the title of the story. It says, "Gallipolis is excited over a wild man who is reported to hunt the woods near that city. He goes naked, is covered with hair, is gigantic in height, and his eyes start from their sockets." Well, of course, where else would they start? It says, "A carriage containing a man and a daughter was attacked by him a few days ago. He is said to have had bounded at the father, catching him in a grip like that of a vice, hurling him to the earth, falling on him and endeavoring to bite and scratch like a wild animal. The struggle was long and fearful, rolling and wallowing in the deep mud, half suffocated at times underneath his adversary, whose burning maniac eyes glared into his own with murderous and savage intensity. Just as he was about to become exhausted from his exertion, his daughter, taking courage at the imminent danger of her parent, snatched up a rock, hurling it at the head of her father's would-be murderer, was fortunate enough to put an end to the struggle by striking him somewhat about the ear. The creature was not stunned, but feeling unequal to further exertion, slowly got up and retired into the neighboring copse that skirted the road. And that was in 1869. We live in an area where, we have a lot of sightings.
When I was little, my aunt used to tell me a lot of stuff. It makes me wonder now, knowing what I know about Bigfoot. I never put two and two together as a kid. I never was into it. But we'd spend a lot of time there. My dad would be working or whatever, and we'd just stay there with my aunt. And she would talk about if it's starting to get dark outside or whatever, she'd say, you better get ready to come inside now, quit playing, because all those monkeys will come out of the hills and take you off. So I think about it now, I wonder what she knew. Tracy, you heard about the thing at Ball Fork Mountain?
I know very little about it. I know you sent me some stuff, but it seems like it's been a while. I don't really remember the heart of it.
This here's from Williamson Daily News here in Williamson, West Virginia in 1974. Thing roams the top of Ball Fork Mountain. An 8-foot-tall, huge, hairy thing, which is said to roam the hills between midnight and 3 a.m., reportedly observed last night and Sunday on Ball Fork Mountain near McAndrews, Kentucky. The thing is said to have a cat-like face, a huge, hairy, man-like body, and large paws, which has left tracks reportedly measuring at 18 inches in breadth. This is really true. I'm not just making it up, said Mrs. Pat Smith, one of the several persons contacting the Daily News about the thing. I thought at first those boys were just using their imaginations, but not before last I heard the thing. We were up there and it made a noise that sounded like trees breaking and crunching, and it was so loud. The thing reportedly roams the top of Ball Fork Mountain for several hours after midnight each day. Reports and rumors have said the creature at various times in the past week was dragged halfway down the mountain by an automobile, which it had grabbed and left a huge paw print on the hood of the car, and chased several boys from the area, among other tales. Ball Fork Mountain has been crowded with would-be heroes and curious area residents the past 2 nights. 2 rifle shots reportedly hit the creature Sunday night, but the gunshots did not appear to injure the creature, which is said to have chased the assailants from the hilltop. They said it was just gigantic, said Mrs. Smith. They shot it twice, and it still ran after them. I feel foolish for saying something like this, but it really is true. The Ball Fork Mountain area has been known to spawn an occasional bear, and feeling among several persons was that the thing was merely a large bear plus a little imagination. And that one we had posted on our UFO page, and turns out we ended up getting a lot of views on that one. I think we had 30,000 views.
Oh, wow.
It was our most popular story. And turns out that was all just a big hoax. The Mrs. Smith that's quoted in there, I guess it was her husband running around in a gorilla suit. So I guess
he's running. What would possess somebody to run around the woods in a monkey suit at nighttime?
That's not very smart, especially around these mountain people who are going to have guns and stuff after you.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I guess there probably are a few of them that are fabricated and stuff, but for the most part, I believe there are a lot of truth in these stories.
Well, yeah, you're going to have some case in point, I guess. Now, how far away was that from you exactly?
It's not far at all, probably 20 minutes. It makes me want to go out and check it out to see if there's any kind of truth to it, and look around and stuff. But they say that old guy's still alive, so he might still be roaming that mountain. You never know.
Wow, that's crazy. So run around at nighttime.
Just asking to get himself shot there.
Like you said, them mountain people down there, I mean, they might shoot that man and just bury him. They never see him again. Put him in a mine somewhere. That's crazy, man. That's one of them hold my beer moments. Rush, Kentucky. Lived in a small hollow, particularly graveled lane that dead ended into my driveway. The land is hilly with pines and oaks and other common eastern Kentucky trees. Said my wife and 5 kids moved to the undeveloped 50 acres. That was my wife's father's farm. They lived there about 3 months and started hearing things, made a little uncomfortable, but not frightened. There were nights the dogs would bark and carry on, but would not go after whatever there was out there they were barking at. Said they would run and hide when it would come close to the house. There were deer and bear kills all over, it says. While I was hunting, I noticed a few things that wasn't what I call natural, forced happenings. I had not heard of markers of Bigfoot territory, but I saw what I thought was the work of a few of the local boys in the woods. It was about 11 o'clock at night. It was probably in the early winter or late fall. There was a skiff of snow on the ground, mostly in spots. After I walked around the hills about a mile and a half, not getting any closer, able to see what was after, even though it stayed about 20 or 30 yards ahead of me. I could never see it, but I could hear it walking in the leaves and breaking branches. So he decided to go on into the house. The next morning, I walked up on the hill to see what kind of tracks he could see. He said he found his tracks in the snow where he had tripped a couple of times over vines and leaves, but could not find any indication of anything that was walking in front of him or any place around him. Said one night they were leaving to go to Ashland. As we were getting into the truck, heard someone on the hill whistling. I called out to see who it was, but there was no reply, just more whistling. He said, I told him I have a gun and would shoot if they didn't answer. There was no answer. I fired a shot in the general direction. The whistling stopped. I think they pretty much try to mimic. I mean, not so much us, but they could probably mimic, other creatures in the woods,
I got a friend that I work with. He's always talking about he hears weird noises in the holler over across from where he lives. There used to be an old coal mine over there, and it's been shut down for years. He said ever since the mine shut down, he hears like trees falling and even hears like monkey calls and stuff over in there. Sometimes sound like a monkey. And I was at his house one night. Me and my son Brandon, we had went to his house, and we were out in his driveway saying bye and stuff, and we heard this weird owl call. There's something off about it. We kind of laughed and stuff. And a few minutes later, we heard this big, loud scream sound. I can't get my voice that high to mimic it, but here's how Brandon said that it sounds.
It sounded like...
As soon as it did it, there were kind of sounded like a gorilla type noise, kind of combined with an owl, if that makes any sense. We heard like 3 of those from like different areas all around us. And it was just immediately after that high pitched sound. And that freaked us all out. We just kind of stared at each other in disbelief, and Brandon tried to run back into my buddy's house. He was scared.
Well, they say I guess it strikes the fear in you that, I mean, you figure a creature it's 8, 9, maybe 10 feet tall, probably 6, 7, 800 pounds. When it lets out a scream or a growl, everything in you is going to pay attention.
Yeah, you can tell it's got some lung capacity.
I wonder how many people see these things in urban settings. I mean, in neighborhoods. You always hear about them out in the middle of nowhere, or running across a logging road in front of you, or in a rural community running across the road. But how many of them have ever been seen, say, looking in your window in the suburb? Because to me, if things like coyotes and bears come and raid your trash cans for food, I mean, why wouldn't a Bigfoot?
Yeah, you would think be out in the garbage dumpsters and stuff.
Yeah. And then you got to think that if, say, they do discover one, and I mean, most of the sightings, you know as well as I do, most of them are in the Pacific Northwest, up in Washington, Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, a lot of sightings up in that way. But what else goes on up there? Logging. So if they would happen to discover one up there, it would be considered an endangered species. Well, then they would have to make an endangered species habitat. Well, what would that do for the logging business up there? It would practically shut it down, I'd imagine. So the question is, do they even want to find it? Is that why there's such disinformation by the science community as far as the repercussions of actually finding one up there?
Well, that's about all we're going to be talking about this week. We're going to normally keep it around an hour long, I believe. We're just going to kind of keep it short and sweet this week. We're going to try to put out a new episode every week.
Good Lord willing. Say goodnight, Dick.
And we sure appreciate everybody joining us this week, and we'll be right back here next time. And God bless you. We'll see you next week.
Go to church.